All right, we'll start then. From earning the Shaurya Chakra at just age 22 to founding Project Sambandh and building a one-of-a-kind autograph collection, your journey has truly been extraordinary. And of course, we're especially excited to hear how you became friends with MS Dhoni. To all the students and attendees tuning in, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're looking forward to an inspiring and insightful conversation on courage, purpose, leadership, and what it truly means to live a life beyond the ordinary. Over to you, Colonel.
Good evening, everyone, and Jai Hind. We are starting about 9 minutes late, but we wanted everyone to join. More and more participants is always good. And thank you very much for inviting me on this wonderful forum, the BITS Embryo. I read about this forum and what you all do. And I think the Birla Institute of Technological and Sciences has been a great institute. I've got a lot of my friends who went to that lovely institute, nearly 20 of them, my classmates. So it's always a great privilege and an honor to be talking to young students like you and all others who are in this chat here today. I'm sure this presentation or the talk is going to be available for more people to hear and listen later on. So without further ado, I've chosen this topic called Lead to Serve, Serve to Lead, because I wanted to talk to you about my journey as a Boy Scout and going to an Army officer and what I'm doing now. So just if you could just give a confirmation whether you can see my screen and you're able to see my presentation.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So I began my journey in uniform as a young Boy Scout. I was about 12 or 13 years old when I started wearing uniform as a Boy Scout. I joined as a Cub and then became a Scout. And that gave me an opportunity to wear the uniform and be along with other Boy Scouts in outdoor activities, in charity activities, and things like that. And the lesson that I learned in the Boy Scout movement was their motto itself, which was be prepared. Every day, day in and day out, we were given a lot of tasks, and we were also involved in a lot of activities. And the motto was always followed to be prepared. And also, this gave me a great opportunity to understand what camaraderie was, what to work under very less resources was. We used to go on camps outdoors, less water, less food, and things like that, but how we could pull it off. And also, day in and day out, we were also told to do a good turn in the Boy Scout movement. We used to wear a uniform with a scarf. We should tie a knot at the end of the scarf. And the moment you do a good turn, it could be a small thing like helping your mother and something, and then you could untie the knot. That was the basis of me getting enchanted by wearing a uniform. And I thought, let me join the Indian Armed Forces, which is a great opportunity for wearing a uniform and then serving the country. And that's where I joined the National Defense Academy. As you see in this picture here, these are my course-mates, the National Defense Academy, which is at Khadakwasla, National Defense Academy at Khadakwasla, which is closer to Pune. This is a 3-year training at the academy where they train the Army, Navy, and Air Force cadets to become the Army, Navy, and Air Force officers. And this academy, the motto is service before self. And day in and day out, we're always told how to keep with this motto, service before self. There are many lessons that we learned at the National Defense Academy. Two of them were, of course, the first one was, of course, camaraderie. You can see this picture, a lot of my friends, a lot of course mates. And one of the important lessons, since we were in a hostile environment, just like you all are, resources are very, very less, resources for food, resources in the mess, resources in terms of bathroom and things like that. So one of the lessons that we learned at the National Defense Academy was 5 minutes early at the beginning of the day is 5 minutes early at the end of the day. Like for this example, this talk itself, I was ready and up and checked my presentation at 3:55 itself to make sure that everything is ready. Because I had planned my day accordingly. I was 5 minutes early at the beginning of the day. Similarly at National Defense Academy, because if you're early, then the resources are available to you much easier, especially resources like bathroom or going to the breakfast table and the mess facilities and things like that. But on the flip side, if you're 5 minutes late at the beginning of the day, you will be 1 hour late at the end of the day. So this is a valuable lesson that I learned at the National Defense Academy, because time is one of the few resources, I would say the only resource where you can't get extra things. You can get more money, you can get more manpower, but time is something which is 24 hours for everyone. And as a young student, all of you are listening, and later in your life as professionals and leaders, this is something that you have to keep in mind, how time discipline and punctuality is. And this is what the armed forces taught me, especially the National Defense Academy. And the other lesson of the National Defense Academy was camaraderie. One of the most important competitions at the National Defense Academy is the cross-country run, where we have to run 14 odd kilometers over a tough terrain. And we are divided into various cordons, which is something like your hostels, your bhavans, Gandhi Bhavan, Nehru Bhavan, and things like that. So the competition is not who finishes first, but how a full hostel or a squadron finishes, how fast a hostel finishes. So you will be penalized if somebody drops out much more than somebody arrives late. So in this process, what squadrons do is to make sure that everybody finishes. And this is a great life lesson that I learned at the National Defense Academy. That's very important for the team to finish rather than an individual. You as young professionals, you will be part of, especially now at BITS Pilani, including forums like this at BITS Embryo and other activities that you'll be taking part in. You will be operating as a team. And it's important for every team member to be participating and moving the team forward rather than just one bright spark taking it forward. You will be never able to finish the task. These two lessons were very, very crucial in my life. I started this journey in 1993 and I finished National Defense Academy in 1996 and then graduated from the Indian Military Academy in 1997 because I was an Army cadet. And then I was posted in my first posting to Jammu and Kashmir in 1998. I learned a lot of things in my first posting at Jammu and Kashmir in 1998. This was the peak of terrorism. I'm sure you would have all heard of the news. You see a meadow like this, which you saw recently in Pahalgam also. This is a meadow in Jammu and Kashmir in a district called Kupwara, much more beautiful than the ones that you saw in Pahalgam recently. You can see how beautiful it is, lush green grass, cattle moving around. And I was posted here as a young officer. As serene as it looks, the jungles had the terrorists who had come from across the Pakistan Kashmir and were creating terror. And in one such instance, on the 1st of July, 1998, we got information that some terrorists have crossed over and would be heading closer to our area of responsibility. And I was given this task. We didn't know how many terrorists were there, but we vaguely knew that, yes, if they had to cross my area of responsibility, these are the areas that they might have to cross. And there were about 4 or 5 such areas. So what I did was, as a young lieutenant at that time, I divided my company into about 5, 6 different groups. And I led one of the groups where I was leading a group of 10 other soldiers, and we moved to a place called Gormatnar Pass, which you'd see on the screen, which was at 13,400 feet. And we were stationed in a place called Bangas, which you saw in the picture before. So we got this information at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. And by the time we reached Gormatnar Pass, it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the night. It was torrential rains that day. And we kept getting information like this earlier too. And we thought this is one of those routine information. And we were still alert and being aware that, yes, there could be terrorists who could cross us. So nothing happened on the 1st of July, 1998. That night, we all got wet, completely wet. We were all hungry also. And on the 2nd of July, we got information that there's going to be a search party which will carry out a search in that area. And we are supposed to make sure that we stay in the same place. And when the search party reached us and when they were returning back, they encountered about 3 or 4 terrorists, out of which they eliminated 2 of them and 1 escaped. And this was at about 12:45 in the afternoon. And we were tasked to make sure that that escaped terrorist whom they saw, we had to go and track him down and find out where he is. So from 12:45 onwards, we started moving around in the jungles. But unfortunately, we couldn't find the terrorist. And we thought maybe the operation would be called off. And because we had not slept the whole night, we had not eaten any dinner on the 1st, no breakfast, lunch on the 2nd. And we were all tired mentally as well as physically. And as you could see, snow was just melting at that point of time. But we were told to go back to Gormatnar Pass. And this is when, on the night of the 2nd and 3rd of July, in fact, on the early morning of 3rd of July at about 4:45, we saw some people carrying haversacks crossing us at about 100, 150 yards from us. And this was seen by the night vision goggles which the sentry was holding. And by the time he gave the goggles to me, I could see a couple of them crossing us. And that's when I took this decision that, yes, we need to pursue them, but this is not the right time. 4:45 early morning is still dark, and I knew where they were heading to. They were heading to the Bungus Valley, which is where we were positioned. So we took our time. We started moving only at about 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we reached to the base of Bungus Valley, the terrorists saw us and started firing at us. And on the 3rd of July, as you see, those blobs here, we were coming down the slopes, and the terrorists saw us, who were depicted in the red blob here, and they started firing. And the blob on the western sector is where my 2IC, my JCO moved, and I was in the eastern sector, and we moved another 2 or 3 soldiers to the southern side. And we had a very successful operation where we eliminated these terrorists within a clean operation of 45 minutes. And this was what the kind of weapons that they were carrying. We had a universal machine gun. They had, they had universal machine guns, a lot of AK-47, a lot of ammunition. They also had some IEDs, which they were planning to use, because July next month was August, and they're planning to do something for the 15th August, the Independence Day. And this was a very successful operation. And overall, the complete operation resulted in 13 terrorists killed in 3 days, from the 2nd of July till the 5th of July. This was a very, very successful operation. And it was successful not because the 13 terrorists were killed, but also because that we didn't have a single scratch in any of our troops, which is what was more commendable. And because we followed this dictum in the armed forces, that the more you sweat in peace, the less you will bleed in war. And this was very, very true in this operation. And I'm proud to say that in my 20 years of service in the Indian Armed Forces, not a single scratch in any of my troops that I led. Because it's very, if a soldier is injured, or if he's died in operation, it's not only the soldier, but also the whole family, which is affected because of the death of the soldier. So this was a great opportunity for me to understand about operations, and because of which I was awarded the Shaurya Chakra, which is the 3rd highest gallantry award. It was a great function at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, with the Rashtrapati pinning the medal on you. It's a very proud moment. But this medal is, of course, for the actions that I took and the leadership, but also to my team members who acted in unison and displayed great teamwork so that we could eliminate all the terrorists. Of course, this was my initial army career. I traveled across India and abroad. I was posted in Bhutan, where I learned a lot of things about gross national happiness in Bhutan. And in this process, I also indulged in a lot of hobbies. I met a lot of celebrities, as you can see. There are some cinema stars like Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Mohan Lal, for people from South. That's Mohan Lal. I had taken him to Bhutan. This is God himself, Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, PV Sindhu, sportspersons. For people who play and follow soccer, this is the greatest of all time, Pele, Messi. And of course, Samhita had mentioned in her initial remarks about MS Dhoni. During this process, I got to meet MS Dhoni, to take autographs, and over the years I developed a friendship with MS Dhoni. And here you would see him, how he's got commissioned into the Indian Army. I helped in the process where he could get commissioned into the Indian Army, into the Territorial Army. And MS Dhoni and I have been having a relationship and a friendship for more than about 15 years now. And there's a lot of things that I've learned from him. And one of the lessons that I thought I should share with young students like you is this episode with MS Dhoni. This is a very, very unique picture, which is right on the day of India winning the World Cup. India won the World Cup in 2011, the Cricket World Cup. And this was the night of the 2nd and 3rd. This is, in fact, early morning on the 3rd of April 2011. And MS Dhoni had shaved off his hair that night. And then this was the picture that we took at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, MS, I need a picture with you with your shaven head and things like that. And he was tired because he had played the whole day and the whole night. We were all talking and chatting with friends. And at about 8:30, 9 o'clock, I had put up this picture and shared it with my friends. Those days, there was no WhatsApp and things like that. I think I shared it over email to a lot of people. But by about 11 o'clock, I started getting calls from a lot of friends saying that, oh, you're coming on TV and we've seen you with MS Dhoni, who is like bald, or with a shaven head. I said, where is it coming? Which channel is coming? And they told me the channel, and quickly I went and saw the channel. And I was shocked to see that the channel was carrying this picture with the remarks, exclusive, Dhoni ne mundan kyun kiya? Dhoni ne mundan kyun kiya? And I was very, very embarrassed because this is a very private picture with MS, and somehow it had got leaked and it went to the press, and somebody was using it unauthorized. I was feeling very embarrassed. I was in a high, being with the captain of the Indian team, India winning the World Cup the previous night, and now it seems like there's been a breach of friendship and trust. Unfortunately, I couldn't apologize to MS because he was tired. He had a lot of events that day. There was a meeting with the President of India. There were official photo shoots. But luckily, we had coordinated that we will go to the airport together. I was coming back to Chennai and he was going to Delhi. And when I met MS in the night at 9 o'clock, I told him, MS, I'm very sorry. This is what has happened. There's a picture of ours which is getting beamed on television, and it says exclusive. He says, what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong. Which channel it is coming? I told him so-and-so channel. He says, why do you watch the channel? Don't watch the channel. You won't be perturbed. And that was a revelation to me. He said, the remote is in your hand, whether you want to watch the channel and get disturbed, or somebody like me who's not even watched the channel because I was busy and I didn't watch the channel. And that was a great learning for me. That one particular episode where he said that the ability to control is in your hands. And that's the lesson that I learned from him, which is CTC, which is control the controllables. More often than not, as young students yourself, more often than not, we get perturbed by others' actions, whether it's your parents, whether your teachers, your boyfriends, your girlfriends. We get perturbed by others' thoughts, others' action. But the control is within us, whether to be angry, whether to be sad, whether to be happy. Everything is in our hands. So this lesson that I learned from him, control the controllables, has stood very, very strongly for me over the years, and I follow it day in and day out. So I thought I should share this lesson with all of you. And over the years, 20 years in the army, I served, and then I got a calling because I thought that there are these families of the soldiers who die in the armed forces. There are people who die because of operational reasons, like Kargil, or some people who have died in Op Sindhu and things like that. But there are also people who die because of non-operational reasons. Yes, the soldier dies, but the brunt is borne by the family, the spouse, the parents, the children. And once the armed forces personnel die, the family goes through a lot of challenges. So that's why I took voluntary retirement in the army, and I embarked on this project called Project Sambandh. Sambandh means to connect. So I embarked on this project to connect with the next of, or the families of the soldiers of the Indian Armed Forces who died because of non-operational circumstances like accidents, suicides, medical conditions, and things like that. And I began this journey by reaching out to the families of my own course-mates. The picture that you see on the right are my own course-mates who have died over the years. And this is what is Project Sambandh. It's a purely philanthropic project where I connect with the next of kin of the physical casualties of the Indian Army. Physical casualties are those who die because of non-operational circumstances like medical condition, accidents like road accidents, falling in a well, electrocution, and things like that, suicides and fratricides. and I reach out to the families, the spouse, the children, the elderly parents, and they have a lot of challenges. They have financial challenges, social challenges, emotional challenges, because they get less pension. In India, especially, the widows are treated in a very different way. There's a stigma attached to it. And the emotional challenges of being a victim, worried about what the future is going to be. So I identified these challenges by traveling across India. I traveled to most of the parts of India, and I met with these families. And I like to highlight a couple of stories which will bring out how connection and sambandh can change the lives of many people. This was a lady who was in Jammu and Kashmir. She was in a place called Sundarbani. And when I met her and I told her that I want to meet her and, know about her status, she had lost her husband just 2 years into a marriage. And she had a 1-year-old girl child when the husband died, who was an army Jawan. And when I met them, I met this young girl and the mother. So typically I asked the young girl, "Kaun se class mein padh rahe ho bachche?" And she said, "9th standard, uncle," in good English. And then said, "Kya karna chahte ho?" She said, "Uncle, I want to be a cardiologist." And that really put me, my tentacles at the same, because here is a girl who had not seen a father and very clear on what she wants to do. And once we established the connect, I made sure that she fills up the form so that the government grants can come. But I also shared a story in social media so that my friends and families could know about such a girl. And people came to help her out. Somebody gave some financial assistance. Somebody helped them out with moving them from Sundarbani to Jammu so that she could prepare for a NEET and things like that. And yes, you could see in her 10th standard, she got 484 out of 500. And in her 12th standard, she got 492 out of 500. So here is this young girl, and today she's a third-year medical student in Jammu, and she's doing really well, Niharika, and all because of my initial connect with her and understanding what her aspirations were, and to make sure that there are enough people to assist. There is financial assistance, but one needs to connect to understand what is the requirement. And similarly, of the story of Nandabala, who's from Chennai, I tracked him down. They were untraceable, tracked him down, found out that he was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. He was wanting to do shooting. I connected him with Gagan Narang, who was an Olympic bronze medalist. He helped him out, but unfortunately couldn't make to the top levels of shooting. But his mother wanted him to be a doctor. We tried to help him out with some computers, with some financial grants and things like that. Corona had come, so his studies got affected. And but we tried to help him out in many ways. And the first year he just couldn't make it. He joined those classes and all, but he couldn't make it. But later, just next year, I got a message, as you see on the screen here, on the left, a WhatsApp message saying that he's got a seat in the MBBS college and government college in Pudukkottai. And this was a great thing. There are reservations for these students, and we helped him out. So this was again because of the connect that one had established. And there are many, many, many stories. This is about a lady whom I met in Chennai. She had to support her 2 children, her widowed mother. And when we went to her house, we saw that she's indulging in some art classes for the neighborhood kids. We put her through to a makeup tutorial class through one of the top artists in Chennai. And she went through this coaching for about 21 days. And she runs her own Facebook, Instagram channel. And she's followed, and she charges about 30,000 rupees for makeup and to tie a sari, to do the hair and things like that. And her life has changed. Today she runs a very successful business. So the many connects that happen because of understanding what the challenges are, what the aspirations are. And this is not only the Army, but the Air Force also. We helped this lady out whose husband had died while trying to save the train that he was coming in 1981 from dacoits who had entered in Chambal. And over the years, the Air Force had forgotten them. The forgotten, and she didn't get what her due was. And it took me a year to make sure that she gets all her dues, and she got more than 1 crore rupees of dues. So Sambandh is really changed my outlook in life. Of course, it's a calling which has come, but over the years, the last 7 years or 7.5 years that I've been pursuing my calling, of course, during the years of Corona, I didn't travel much. One of the things that I learned, or I'm still learning in this process of Sambandh, which is to connect with the next of kin of these families, is you need to listen well. If you're going to be a leader, again, young students like you will all have various opportunities within the institute, as well as opportunities outside when you do your internship or when you go into a professional career. You need to lead teams, you need to achieve targets, you need to solve problems. And one of the first things that you need to do is to listen well. So over the years, I've made sure that I listen well, I understand what their challenges are, because more often than not, we perceive what the problem is and then try and go in a tangent to solve the problem. But if you listen and understand the problem, then you will be able to lead better. You would see here on the left, I'm trying to listen to this family of the soldier who's trying to tell me her challenges about her children's education. And on the right, you can see the Prime Minister listening to me, listening to my challenges and what we can do. So as a leader, it's very important that you listen well before you act. So this is the lesson that I wanted to share with you from the Project Sambandh. And before perfect timing. So before I sign off, one of the reasons why I embarked on my life and these projects is because of my my inspiration, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who I had a great opportunity of meeting 3-4 times. And one of the very interesting time that I met him was when I walked into Rashtrapati Bhavan myself as a young captain and told the guards that I want to meet the Rashtrapati, and everybody was stunned, saying that, do you have an appointment? I said, no, I don't have any appointment, but I still managed to go to Rashtrapati Bhavan, went to the reception, spoke to some officials who had put across the message, and everybody was stunned. But then I got to meet Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in his office, and when I met him, we shared a lot of thoughts together. And then, of course, later I had an opportunity to meet him many more times and share my thoughts. And the first meeting where I met him, and when I went to his office at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and I explained to him that I was a serving army officer posted in a particular area. He had some questions. And of course, when he came to know that I'm from Tamil Nadu, then he started speaking to me in Tamil and asking me about my family and my background and things like that. And then finally, as I was about to leave, I told him, President, I want your autograph. And this is something that I cherish. And he said, I generally give autographs only to children, but since you have taken so much of efforts, then he gave me his autograph card. And he called for this card, and he wrote, Dear Captain Shankar. But in the card, he asked me to read what is written in the card. And the card read, learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. So this is a card that he gave me, which read, Dear Captain Shankar, APJ Abdul Kalam. But what was written in the card is very, very, very important for you all as young students and young adults, that everything emanates from learning. And today, since you're all in an educational institute and also part of this program, it's Embryo, where you will get to listen and learn from others, from professionals, from various organizations, that every day you should be like a sponge trying to learn new things. Automatically, when you learn, it will give you creativity, and then the knowledge will take you to places. And knowledge has taken me to places. I've been involved in as an expert in Kaun Banega Crorepati, where I can interact with Amitabh Bachchan and other celebrities. It's taken me places in Bhutan, where I helped compile the first English-Hindi Zonka dictionary. So knowledge is something that will take you places and will give you the respect in your life. So this is some part of my journey, which I wanted to share with all of you, right from my Boy Scouts days, my armed forces, and I also saw some questions that you're all asked, I think I've covered most of them through my talk about my journey in the armed forces at the National Defense Academy, my hobbies of collecting autographs or quizzing or doing some little bit of magic and things like that. And before I wind up, I want to leave this message with all of you that we think that the Indian flag flutters because of the wind, but it's not because of the wind. It's because of the last breath of every soldier who's ever died protecting this flag. And we have to remember the sacrifice of these soldiers and how they have sacrificed, they left behind the family, and in our own ways, how we can contribute to make sure that these families are looked after. So as I end my talk, these are my contacts, the Project Sambandh. This is the way to reach out to me. There's an email address, there's a WhatsApp number, and then of course you can go to, young people like you are not no longer an email. That I think Instagram is what is in vogue for all of you. So that's my Instagram ID, Vembu Shankar. If you would Google or if you just put a search, you might get into me. So this is what I want to share with you. I will now go back to the meet. And over to you, the moderator. You can carry on with the rest of the program. And I think we are well on time.
Thank you so much for that incredible talk. Your journey from the front lines to founding Project Sambandh and even your adventures in collecting autographs has truly given us a lot to think about. It was inspiring to hear such a candid and rich perspective on service, purpose, and passion. I think you did answer many of our questions. We just have a few more from the audience that I'll be asking you.
So somebody wants to ask a question, just unmute yourself and you can ask me a question.
Yeah, I think one question that people wanted to ask was, what advice would you give engineering students who aspire to unconventional career paths?
Okay, unconventional career paths. Okay, engineering students, why did you join the armed forces? We need engineers. It's a great, I know of alumni of Pilani who have joined armed forces. Typically, a conventional path would be to get into core engineering, or maybe people get into also management, things like that. But armed forces as a career is a great opportunity. You can serve the country as well as have adventure, maybe to fly a fighter plane, to take care of a fighter plane, to take care of large ships, to take care of great equipment. That's one of the things. And also, like what I told you, you should always be in the pursuit of knowledge. Engineering is everywhere. It could be computer engineering. It could be anywhere, any walk of life you have engineering. So if you're in the pursuit of knowledge, I'm sure your path will come through. And presently, since you're all studying in an engineering college, I think your focus should be to make sure what is in the present and learn about the basics of engineering.
Yeah, that's really reassuring to hear. I'm sure it'll encourage many of us to think beyond what's expected. Another question that we had was, as someone living a life full of high-stakes decisions, how do you approach failure and calculated risk?
Okay, great. So that's a good question. I always, as a leader, used to tell my troops that yes, it's very, very common to fail. If you fail, that there is a chance. If you only take risks and do actions, you will fail. By just keeping away, if you think, failure is going to this thing and not do the action, it's never going to happen. In our case, especially in the armed forces, the risks are very, very high. So we have to take those decisions, making sure that failure could cost lives also. So how to overcome? First of all, how to overcome bad decisions is by training well, which is what I brought out by the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. More and more you practice and train, the less mistakes you will make, and mistakes in our case was life and death. But in your case, as young adults and as engineers, I think you have to accept that failure will happen. Failure has happened in my life in many other spheres. Luckily, I've failed in operations, but not cost life, There have been operations where we have failed, where we tried to pursue someone, we couldn't find him, or we went on a different tangent while interrogating someone or finding out about antecedents of certain anti-national elements, we have failed in many ways, or failed to reach in a particular place in a particular time, and we miss an opportunity. So this will happen. How do you learn from that and not make the same mistake again? As a leader, I always used to say you're most welcome to make uh, many mistakes, but never ever repeat a mistake. So this is what I learned from failure, that we should not repeat that next time around. And pick the risks aspect. Luckily, I have not had life and death situation where I have failed and it's cost lives. Like I told you, I think I prepared well, and that's the reason we have not failed.
That's a really helpful way to look at failure. I suppose it's not something to fear, but more like something that's part of the process and
Yeah.
something we should learn from. What military skill do you think is most important for like youth of today, like discipline, teamwork? What do you think would be the most important?
Most important is like what I began with, is time discipline. Time is the only resource which is finite. Rest all you can get money, you can get everything, you can get the equipment, you'll get everything. Time is very, very, very important. As not only engineering students, as young adults, I think you should be able to plan your day in such a way that you can utilize every minute of you indulge in your physical activities, your mental faculties, your entertainment. So make sure that you stick to the good time discipline, and then you'll be able to do many things. So many people ask me, how could I pursue such diverse interests, from autograph collection to quizzing to magic to caricatures and things like that, is because how I manage my time, whether it's for entertainment, whether it's personal growth, or whether it's for family, or whether it's Project Sambandh, or whatever it is. It's so that's the only thing that I want to share with all of you, that this is what the military taught me. Military taught me that even a second can mean life and death. So this is what I want to share with all of you. It's in your hands, controlling the controllables, whether you want to imbibe it or not. But if you imbibe it, like for today, we knew that this is going to be, it was put up on Instagram, it was put up everywhere. You were there 5 minutes early as the moderator. We could all be at 4 o'clock. We could have joined. Doesn't matter, but this is a learning. Next talk in Bits Embryo, be there at 4 o'clock. So that drives home a message to everyone that yes, we respect time. And luckily, I could finish on time. Otherwise, you would have dragged on a Sunday evening.
Yeah, I think time management is something that our generation should really keep in mind. What advice do you have for students wanting to start community impact initiatives similar to like Project Sambandh?
Oh, great. So like I told you, I started with your own. If you want to make a change in the society, start with your own. It could be your family. In your case, it could be something in Bits Pilani itself. Before you go on to change the world on global warming or things like that, start with your own. That's the first thing that I would like to tell. Start with smaller goals, because initially you will find a lot of disappointment and resistance when you start doing this, that you'll feel, oh, I'm doing so much, but there is no appreciation from the other side, or people are, this is a very, very common thing. Going back to, again, controlling the controllables, do something which is small, achievable, and then automatically there would be people accepting it, recognizing it, and choose something which is in your community rather than going and changing the world. You can change the world much later, but you start something with your own family, or maybe as engineers now, since you have your break, maybe you can use your knowledge that you have gained for the last 1.5 years or 2 years or 4 years that you have spent at Bits Pilani to teach your younger sibling or your friends or somebody in your community about what you have learned about hostel life, about academics and things like that. So start with your own immediate thing. Charity begins at home, as they say. Number 2, start with smaller things where you can achieve the goals, that only will give you confidence. And continue doing this without expecting anything in return.
Sounds great. Before we wrap up, are there any final questions from the audience? You can just raise your hand and then unmute.
Okay, what they can do is they can send out the questions to your email or to the email which is shown if they get some questions later, because then they can always send it to you and then you can forward it to me, or you can see the email which is there here, or Instagram or something like that. You can send it to me and I will try and answer the questions. So let's wrap it up with over to you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you once again for taking the time to be with us today and for sharing your journey. From your life in uniform to your continuous service through Project Sambandh, every story that you shared left us with valuable lessons on leadership, resilience, empathy, time management, and living with purpose. Your words have truly inspired us to think beyond just conventional paths and to lead lives rooted in service, curiosity, and conviction. On behalf of BITS Embryo and BITS Pilani as a whole, we are deeply grateful for your presence today. And to everyone in the audience, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jai Hind. I saw Shaurya doing something. Must be a Fauji kid. Shaurya is always a Fauji kid. Okay, bye.